Welcome back, scholars. I'm Lilly, and this is Scholarly Start. Consider this your field guide to AAA culture. My credentials, a curious mind. My methods, unlimited prying. In today's episode, we're introducing magic. Today's episode doubles as our Magic Fundamentals project, and by that I mean I'm doing this for you, Kaylee, because I would have much rather written that 5-page essay.
You wanted an episode idea, and now that I know many students aren't familiar with magic, this could be helpful.
Yeah, but a 5-page essay. 5 pages of purely non-fiction writing.
I am so happy for you.
You shouldn't be. I'm going to write it, because I'm doing this.
I'm sure Professor Urian wouldn't complain if you still wanted to write it.
Do you think he would complain if I wrote 10 pages?
I think he would complain if I didn't have something to turn in, so let's start.
Oh my god. I've infected you. You're being sarcastic.
Poor Runa.
No!
So, we've decided that the best way to structure this was to introduce magic generally, the exceptions, and then have parts later where we introduce the 3 deities in more detail.
So, to begin, we'll talk about what makes you eligible to use magic in the first place. The gift. Dun dun dun!
As we've mentioned in a previous episode, there's only so many people who can access Arcanum. We call the ability to do so the gift, though it's been called many things over time. When one person capable of using magic dies, the ability is passed on to someone being born around the same time.
This has led to some questionable practices that we're going to get into because it's kind of dark.
When someone has the gift, they can access many things and have the chance to devote themselves to one of the 3 deities, Eden, Runal, Osiris.
Though, a large part of it is also up to the deities. Some deities have more followers? Disciples than others.
Eden is the goddess of life as a whole and has the most followers. She doesn't turn anyone away, but relationships with her aren't personal.
Runar is the god of mainly knowledge, but he does have control over fire and stuff like that. He has the second most followers, and with that, he's kind of in the middle when it comes to interacting with that.
And Cyrus is the god of fog and water.
Kaylee, he's mostly secrets. Fog and water is more a subcategory, like Runar and fire.
I disagree. They hold a lot of control over these elements and often prefer to be referred to as not necessarily the god of knowledge or secrets respectively, but instead as the deities of fire or fog and water.
Right. Sorry, I forgot I was talking to Mr. I grew up with a god in my backyard.
I don't have a backyard.
It's a turn of phrase. It's saying that he's close enough that you can casually go, yeah, I know Cyrus, god of secrets. Fog and water.
I see. Well, as I was saying, Cyrus is rather selective when it comes to who they pick to be one of her students. They only have a few dozen at once, and as such, invest more time into them on a personal level.
Even then, Kaylee's an outlier because normally, even the followers don't really know where Cyrus's nexus is because it's a secret. That's the whole point. It's weird. You're weird.
Noted. Again.
Each of the different deities give different abilities you can use. We'll go into more detail for these abilities and what they can do when we talk more about the individual deities.
In the meantime, we'd like to talk about the outliers, things that everyone with the gift can do, regardless of their deity, especially considering you do not have to serve one.
Such as enchantments. which is one of the largest ways to use magic without serving the deities.
Enchantments allow you to weave magic into a physical material to perform some kind of action, especially the sort that the deities themselves aren't quite able to facilitate. Brooms are a great mainstream example of this.
Though serving a deity can allow you to, I don't want to say use the deity's magic. By serving a deity, you can craft enchantments specific to their field, like a book enchanted to help you learn its contents more easily.
One of the most common enchantments is levitation. Runar's realm is filled with books that fly to and from their shelves.
Is that supposed to be common knowledge? Or is that something you shouldn't know?
That is a great question.
So it's something you shouldn't know.
A kind
Good
of
to know.
levitation is also technically what facilitates the use of brooms.
Just speeding past the fact that you've seen into Runar's realm as a follower of Cyrus. Fine.
We've been over that.
Fine. No, we haven't.
I feel like we have.
I don't think so.
Well, then, yes, I do think we'll be speeding past that.
Alright, so what were you saying? Something about brooms?
Please don't let me continue. I will not stop.
Right. 30 minutes. Kaylee, 30 minutes!
I know. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to.
Anyways, a different form of enchantments typically come in the form of wands and staffs.
They're not very common, but they allow the use of magic that is either more direct, powerful, or disconnected from deities. They often have a small range of functions instead of doing only one thing.
Yes, in fact, one of my roommates uses a wand for general magic because they don't follow any of the deities.
My mother has a staff that she keeps but doesn't seem to use anymore.
I think it'd be nice to have a wand, but the staff would also be cool.
I can't see myself using a wand or staff unless absolutely necessary. My magic doesn't respond well to being cleanly directed or refined, I suppose would be the word. I've always wanted to try using a broom though.
Kaylee, no. No brooms. You're not allowed to talk about brooms anymore.
Right, moving on. Many minerals can be useful for focusing and refining magic. They're often incorporated into the creation of enchantments.
Copper is one of the best minerals for conducting magic, though it's typically used for wands and brooms.
Many different kinds of crystals or rocks can be used to harness or store potential magic, and while interesting, I feel like many of these topics are more suited to a classroom discussion.
Everyone knows that crystals have magic, Kaylee, even those in the outer world. I'll have to show you some of the outer world witches at some point.
I know the concept carries over, but I find myself nervous to see their practice.
Well, considering a good amount of it is people lying about the crystals in some way, it's a bit iffy. Some people lie about whether or not they're real crystals, and others lie about what they can do. It's not a very trusted community.
The whole point of community is to help the people around you. I don't understand spreading misinformation that has the potential to hurt people.
Well, you see, they want to make money. That's it. That's all. They want money, and a decent chunk of those who are fooled by these people are young people who are just starting out in their practice. And this is just the crystals of it. I'm not even touching false tarot readings or the entirety of horoscopes.
We should move on to familiars.
Are you getting mad? Is this an emotion from Kaylee Jackdaw?
I have emotions. Was that not clear before?
No, like, I know you have them, you just don't show it very often.
It's not like they're constant. I wouldn't be showing them all the time.
So, Kaylee, emotions are kind of constant. You can't really get rid of them.
I don't get rid of them. They just don't happen at all times, especially since I got here.
You don't feel anything? At times? Do you need to speak to the school therapist?
Is that abnormal? I don't feel like I need to talk about it. It's not harming me at all.
Kaylee, that's kind of... It is harming you. Typically stuff like that is unhealthy mentally. Sure, it won't physically hurt you, but it will still cause long-term issues.
We should move on to familiars.
Still no familiar here. By the way, if you're wondering, I'll get one eventually.
Familiars are spiritual companions that take the form of animals in some way.
It can be dangerous for students who aren't ready for a familiar to try and summon one, as they tend to be volatile and unfriendly if done incorrectly. It's why you typically aren't allowed to try until junior year.
The Academy facilitates a class specifically for learning how to connect with and summon a familiar to try and make the process safer, but it's important to note that everyone learns at a different rate. Some students will get their familiars months before their peers.
And some will get them later. Such as someone I know who's annoying and serves Eden, not naming any names.
Entirely unrelated from that, Asilius Thrussell just connected with his familiar, who is named Bobbin. I believe they deserve congratulations.
Yes, entirely unrelated. So, truly unrelated. But yeah, go congratulate them. As much as they're annoying as all heck, Bobbin is adorable, so.
While I also agree Bobbin is adorable, I do think an arachnophobia warning is necessary, as they are, in fact, a spider.
But they're not scary. They're the nicest little thing to ever exist, which is surprising considering who they've bonded with.
Familiars often offer guidance, emotional support, or small services. Many use their familiars to deliver messages or notes.
The principal uses his familiar to call people up to the front office, so if a barn owl ever comes to you holding a note, it's probably him.
His name is Alaric. If you have a moment, he enjoys apple slices.
Ooh, maybe I should start keeping apple slices on hand. That way I can give him a treat.
I think that about covers it.
It covers everything Professor Jurgen said we had to cover if we did this as a podcast episode.
Well then, thank you for joining us. We'll go into further detail with each of the deities in the future.
And that's another case closed. If you enjoyed, drop a rating on today's episode, comment your thoughts and suggestions, share with your fellow scholars, and prepare for our next interview.